Okay. Welcome to our Omud Yom Shir. We are in the Dirsha cycle, and following the cycle, we are now in Daf Mem Aleph Omud Aleph in the bottom of the page. Today's page is Mem Aleph Omud Beis, but we have to start from the Mishnah. And this Mishnah is a very hard Mishnah to understand, and the Gemara will give basically two ways to understand the Mishnah. Yeah, the Mishnah is a bit cryptic, and we'll have two ways, Be'ez Hashem, to understand the Mishnah. And of course, we're learning Hilchos of Bishul and Shabbos. So let's go. Says the Mishnah, a meicham shepinahu. Yeah, you have meicham, and the meicham we assume is a place where you have your hot water. Yeah, you have hot water urn. Yeah, a meicham shepinahu. Yeah, the meicham that you Pinau may mean one of two things. You cleared out the meicham. And we have to understand what that means. Who cleared what from where? The meicham that was cleared away, cleared out. Don't bring in cold water. The whole issue today is about water. Imagine yourself a Shabbos urn. You have like a Shabbos urn called meicham. It's called like that today too, by the way, in Hebrew. You have like kumkum, like a kumkum of hot water. You cleared it, whatever that means. Don't place cold water in it so they should heat up because you're cooking it. You're allowed to put water into that meicham, into that kumkum, or into a glass in order to make them lukewarm. Yeah, so there's something here with pinahu, and also that meicham, don't put cold water in a way that would make them heat up completely. You're allowed to put the cold water inside, so they should just warm up and get lukewarm. That's what it says. We get the general picture, but not the whole picture. And the Gemara's question right away is, Mai Ka'omar. Rashi says, you can look at Rashi. Rashi says three questions. Mai Pinahu. What does Pinahu mean? Lefanot, to clear away, to empty. What did you empty from what? Yeah. Umay lo yiten, the Hadar Omar Aval Noisen. What is it? What does it mean? At the beginning, we said, don't put cold water inside. And then we said, you can, right? So in the sense, something about temperature, it just needs understanding. The kid said this whole Mishnah, all three components of the Mishnah need explanation. I just want to point out something now to avoid questions later. The Gemara will not yet, today, we will not yet discuss the kos. There is one item in the Mishnah, don't ask me simply because it's not for discussion today. Yeah, we'll just talk about it tomorrow. What does it mean when you said you put the cold water, the cold water into the kos, into the glass in order to make them lukewarm? That's not discussed in the Gemara. Right? Everything else in the Mishnah is, except for the word kos. Okay, just leave that alone for now. Says the Mishnah. It says the Gemara. We're going to see two opinions on how to read the Mishnah. Remember the name Rav Ada bar Matana. The first pshat, the first way of understanding the Mishnah, is authored by Rav Ada bar Matana. What did he say? This is what the Mishnah means when it says the following: you have a hot water meicham, hot water urn, and you cleared it, you emptied it from the hot water, okay? And you also took it off the fire, you must say, l'choira, yeah, because otherwise you're cooking anyways. You took it off the fire and you cleared out the water, you emptied the water from that pot. Yeah, it's like a pot of water cleared out. So what you have now is a pot of water which is clearly showing, even off the fire. The clear shon is very, very hot. It's empty. There's no hot water inside. You emptied it from the hot water. But the kli itself, the walls of the kli are very, very hot. They're steaming hot, right? Even if it's off the fire, if you put water now into this, of course the water is going to cook. It's going to heat, right? So you cleared it, you emptied it from the hot water. You're not allowed to put a little bit of water, because let's say, imagine yourself, you have, like a big pot, and a third or a quarter of it, maybe even a half, is cold water. The heat of the walls is going to overcome the chill of the water, and you're cooking it. It will cook. The water will cook. What you're allowed to do is you're allowed to put a lot of water inside. Let's, for now, assume, according to what Rashi says later, you can fill in the entire pot with a lot of cold water in one go. The cold water is going to overwhelm the hot sides of the dish. and they will win over, and together you now have lukewarm water, right? You have the whole gushing, stream of cold water coming into the hot pot. The hot pot will not win over and cook the water. They'll come to some kind of truce, some kind of agreement, Hamas. Yeah, they'll be poisher. There'll be lukewarm cold water, a lot of cold water coming into an empty kli, which has hot, very hot sides. Together will be kosher, and that's allowed. You may even ask what's the chiddush, right? Oh, okay. But that's pshat in the Mishnah. Now we come to a whole new issue. What's the chiddush over here? Frag the Gemara asks in the form of a question. The Gemara is not asking a question. There is another problem. You may be 100% right that you're not cooking the water. But when you fill in the pot with cold water, so the cold water is now going to be lukewarm, and that's okay. You're not cooking anything. You will not reach shatzoledis. However, there's another problem of mitzaref. I think it's called in English to solder. In other words, when you have hot, back in the olden days, even when I was a child, I remember in Israel in the 70s, before Israel became more advanced, the pots were a little bit more like brittling, not as advanced and as hard and stable as they are today. Yeah. So when you have a pot and you only put it in the hot, you create a pot for the first time, you put it in hot water and hot fire, whatever, you have to, as we said before, you have to put it in cold water, right? In other words, when you have cold water that chill the kli, they strengthen the kli. Like they solder it, they make it stronger. They make the kli stronger, and that's like a makeh bepatish. Rashi says, "Shekli matchuscha v'noisel tochotzenim nechazkim es hakli v'zui gmar meleches hatzorfin." This is like the gmar melacha of the blacksmith. Yeah, the people who create the pots, the people who deal with those things, they actually, when you put a lot of cold water, that makes it, stronger because of the cold. I assume it's the first time, maybe even second and third time. I don't know, maybe every time it's good. From Lashon Rashi, it's mashma Gemar Melocha, which is very good because, it makes sense it's Gemar Melocha. Yeah, it's a Kli. There's not so simple that there's binyan in Kli, but surely there's Makeh Bepatish in Kli. So if you have a lot of cold water that come into the pot, it's all very nice that the cold water remain lukewarm, it's fine. But what about the Kli? You have now, you did the Makeh Bepatish, the finishing touch of the Kli. And that's Melacha number 38 in Melacha Shabbos. How can you do that? Answers the Gemara. Rab Shimon, our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rab Shimon. What did Rab Shimon say? Oh, here comes big, very important concept. The Omar, Rab Shimon says, Dovel shen miskaven mutar. Yeah, Rab Shimon says that Dovel shen miskaven, if you do something on Shabbos which is not b'chavana. In other words, my idea is to make the water lukewarm. I'm not interested at all in the pot being a hin or a hair. I'm not trying to build or improve the pot, right? And according to Rabbi Shimon, if I do something, I'm doing melacha A, and that melacha is absolutely fine. I'm doing something that's mutar in Shabbos, to just put water in the pot, make them lukewarm, that's fine. If inadvertently, maybe the pot will become stronger, that's not my problem, says Rabbi Shimon, that's allowed mutar lechatchila. As opposed to Rabbi Yehuda that says the Dovel Shem Miskaven is also. In other words, that the one of the, I told you, right? 3 machlokis in Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Yehuda, Melacha Shem Tzorech L'Guf is coming soon, and the first machlokis is Dovel Shem Miskaven. Dovel Shem Miskaven, when I do a melacha, says the Rambam, I don't remember, I wanted to read the Rambam for you from the inside, but I forgot to bring it. Yeah, I was busy, sorry. Yeah, the Rambam says you do a melacha that's allowed. The definition of the melacha, I'm doing something that's okay. Yeah, I'm doing melacha. Let's say I go through a gate, and the gate is very tight. And as I walk through the gate, maybe or whatever, let's say I comb my hair, not with a comb, but with my fingers. Not much for me to comb. I comb my beard, and maybe the hair will fall or won't fall. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm combing my hair. Combing the hair is allowed in Shabbos. Is combing the hair. Maybe the hair is going to fall. That's not my problem. Now, having said that, we have to know. So therefore, over here, because my kavanah is not to make the kli brittle, I'm not trying to strengthen the kli, that's why it's okay. As we all know, there's a concept of psik reisha. So Tosfos over here says we must say that it's not a psik reisha. In other words, what's psik reisha? If it's 100% sure that it's going to happen, or some say even close to 100% that the osur melacha is going to happen, then even Reb Shimon says it's not allowed. Yeah, that's later on in Daf Kuf Gimel, other places. Abai and Rova both said that psik resha, if the thing is going to for sure happen, you're not allowed to do it on Shabbos, even according to Reb Shimon, because you know it's going to happen. There are different explanations. Over here, says no, we don't know what's going to happen. It's not a sure 100% sure hit that's going to be mitzaref. Maybe yes, maybe no. So there are two conditions. You're not doing it with kavana in order to mechal Shabbos, and it may or may not happen. The iser, the malacha, the forbidden malacha. So according to Reb Shimon, it's mutar l'chatchila. And Rabbi Yehuda said it's osir. We don't follow Rabbi Yehuda in this. That's opinion number one. That's Rav Ada Bar Matana. Okay? Now, Frak the Gemara. Now we're going to challenge that. Maskif lo Abaye. Abaye is now challenging what we just said. Midi, mecham shapina mimeno mayim ketani. Mecham shapina uktani. Excuse me, says Abaye. What you said is very nice, mitzad the svara, but the words of the Mishnah don't read like you. Does it say micham shepina mimeno mayim? Does it say that the water was cleared from the mecham? It doesn't say that. It says micham shepina hu, meaning you cleared the mecham, you cleared it away from somewhere. Not that you cleared out the water, you emptied the water. Mecham shepina hu. You took off the mecham itself and cleared it away, moved it away from somewhere. The Lashon, I don't like the way you read the Mishnah, says Abaye, and therefore Abaye is suggesting a different shot. There are only two different shots in the Mishnah. We have to follow back and forth. Now comes the second shot of the Mishnah, which is Abaye. Elam Abaye hachikoma. Says Abaye, that's what the Mishnah means. Amecham shepinahu, which means the mecham was cleared from the fire. You took the mecham and moved it off the fire. Inahu, imefane it. The yesh boimayim chanin, that mecham still has hot water inside of it, right? It contains hot water, the mecham. Now, let's say it has hot water, I don't know, halfway through, 3/4. There is some hot water still there. When I say hot, I mean boiling hot, that can cook. So now, the Reish and the Seifa makes sense. To put a little bit of water that will be overwhelmed by the existing hot water, you can't, right? You have a lot of hot water, you put in a little bit of cold water, Kli Rishon off the fire. Here's one of the sources, by the way. Kli Rishon off the fire, you can't cook, right? You took the Kli Rishon off the fire and it's still full. It still has steaming water inside, real hot water inside. You put a little bit of cold water, that's mamash bishul. Aval nosen otoch mayim merubim kedei lafshiran. Oh, but you are allowed to put a lot of hot, cold water to create a lukewarm situation. Let's say it's halfway full with the hot water, took it off the fire. You add another 50% of cold water straight away, boom, in one go. They mix together very quickly and become lukewarm and givaldig. At the end result, you don't have what? You don't have yad soledes boy, and that's okay. In other words, lemaisa, both the first opinion and second opinion agree to the same concept, right? You're not allowed to cook, and you are allowed to lahafshil, you're allowed to make it lukewarm. Yeah, you're allowed to make it in the middle of the road. Oh, so what's the difference? Continues Abaye, however, and what's the chiddush here? Umechem shepina mimenu ma'im lo yiten l'soichem ma'im kol ikar mipnei shemitzarev. Says Abaye, however, the Mishnah is dafka following Rabbi Yehuda, meaning the Mishnah dafka spoke about a pot that still contains water, right? Because only if it still contains water, the pot, then you can play around with the temperatures and the amounts, and you can be okay with what? With having lukewarm. But if you have an empty pot, meaning you emptied the pot and you poured out, you spilled out the hot water, and now pina mimenu mayim, yeah, that case is davka not mentioned in the Mishnah as being okay, because if you took that hot, empty pot off the fire, and now you fill it with a lot of cold water, that's not allowed. Why? Because inadvertently, without any bad intention, you are mitzaref. You are strengthening the kli. Our Mishnah follows Rabbi Yehuda that says davar shem niskaven is also. This says, by the way, that Abaye doesn't really believe in what he's saying lahalacha. He just believes that that's a lotion of the Mishnah. In other words, Abaye doesn't follow Rabbi Yehuda. Abaye and Rava, they hold like Reb Shimon in there. But he says, what can I do? That's what this mission is indicating to be like Rabbi Yehuda from the Loshen. So again, let's summarize what we've seen so far. Everyone agrees to the same concept about cooking. It's not okay to cook, and it is okay to create lukewarm. That's fine. Now the question is how. According to Ravada Bar Matana, I keep thinking Ravada Bar Ava. According to Ravada Bar Matana, then what our Mishnah was dafka following Reb Shimon. Why? The Mishnah spoke about an empty kli, the same mechanism of a little bit of water, a lot of water. It's all true, but we're talking about an empty kli, about an empty kli. And even if you fill the entire empty kli with cold water in one go, but there's no problem of bishul, and there's no problem of tziruf, because it's dover shen miskaven, and we follow Reb Shimon. Well, Abai says no. Abai says no. If you read carefully the words of the Mishnah Dafka didn't say that. The Mishnah precisely was trying to say something else. The Mishnah said, if you took off the pot with water, you keep empty pots on the stove? Obviously not. So it was full of water. And the Mishnah didn't say that you right? The Mishnah didn't say you emptied out the water. You took it off the fire with the water inside. They can play with the temperatures. But if it was completely empty and putting a lot of water inside will strengthen it, will brittle, will make it strong, that is yes, usher. Chiddush is mediuk dafka. Very interesting. The chiddush is with medayek that our Mishnah, not that I'm saying that halacha says about it, but the Mishnah is coming to tell me like Rabbi Yehuda Dova Shem Iskaven is also. We're not sure it's going to happen. It doesn't matter. In other words, even if it's not psik reisha, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're not allowed to brush your hair even without a comb with your fingers, because you may or may not have some hair falling, right? According to Yehuda, that's not allowed because maybe you'll break Shabbos. The machlokas is based on the definition of meleches machsheves. We all know that Shabbos, as opposed to other areas of halacha, there's the concept of meleches machsheves. We are memalfon based. אנחנו בחמש שורות מסוף העמוד בערך, במילים אמר רב. So basically, meleches machsheves, your mind and your melacha, your what you do and what you think have to be in tandem. They have to be to cooperate. And here says Rabbi Shimon, that's not called meleches machsheves. The emissaries, both Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda, they both believe in midoraisa. It's okay. Rabbi Yehuda says it's also midorabanon, and Rabbi Shimon says it's mutar midorabanon. That's a difference. That's also not chayev. That's always a lingo in Shabbos. Also means also Rav Potter. Rabbi Yehuda says Chachamim were wary, and they said, listen, that's too close to Chilul Shabbos. So Rabbanon would make it as if it's meleches machsheves. And Rabbi Shimon says no. Even according to Rabbanon, it's fine. And there's Enet Tzricha Lagufa coming soon. That's another one, which we discussed in Daf Gimel and other places. Omarav. Now the Gemara is going to show us Machloikes Amaroim Rav Shmuel as an independent Machloikes to do with what we just said now. What Rav says seems to be repeating what we just said, and then we'll see Shmuel saying something else. Omarav. Lo ishna ela lehafshir. Says Rav, what you're allowed to do is only lehafshir, which means you're allowed to take the pot and put in hot or cold water to create together a situation of lehafshir. Aval etzaref also, you're not allowed to be mitzaref, to take the pot and put in a lot of. Let me explain something. Although later on will be explained anyways. Sometimes, let's say the kli is 3/4 full. The kli was empty. Let's say around the starting point is I emptied the hot water. Goodbye. Now I have a hot kli. It's very, very hot and empty. A little bit of water, let's say 10-20%, it's very bad. It's going to cook. It's going to heat right away, right? Let's say it's about 60-70% of cold water coming in one go. They're probably lukewarm. And the kli is not mitzaref. Kli is only mitzaref, mitchazek, when it's 100%. Only when the entire kli gets its shock of cold water together all in one go, that's when it gets strong. So you have 3 levels. You have the level of the water cooking. You have the level, which is cooking, that's bad. Or you have the level of 50-60%, which is amazing. That's the best. That's the best. Because the water doesn't cook, just gets lukewarm. And the kli is not getting stronger. And there is 100%, which there may, when you are mitzaref it, the water is great. The water is very lukewarm. But the whole kli is becoming mitzar, right? That's possibly a problem, maybe. Depends on who you ask. In light of that, let's read again. Omarav. Lo shnayla lehafshir. Even though mitzad hilchas Shabbos you're allowed to make the water lukewarm, right? You're allowed to thaw, to make the middle of the road. Aval etzaref also. You're not allowed to. I'm sorry. Letzaref, you're not allowed to put so much cold water that the kli becomes strong because you're building the kli. Makeh bepatish the kli. Shmuel Omar afilu letzaref nami mutar. Says Shmuel, you're allowed to take a lot of cold water and mamish. Sounds like bechavana. You're allowed to be mitzaref the kli. You're allowed to take a lot of cold water, fill the pot to the top, right? And you're building the kli, you're strengthening, the finishing touch, and that's okay. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Letzaref lechatchila mishari, lechatchila mishari. What's the chatchila here? Lechatchila with intention. Are you allowed to intentionally break Shabbos? Are you allowed to lechatchila take the cold water and fill them up to the top of the pot and make the kli strong? That's makeh bepatish. If you do it on purpose, it's not allowed. You have to understand something. Many people don't know that. I remember once I discussed it with my son. When you do something on Shabbos, let's say people have to be careful. Let's say you comb the hair, with your fingers, which means it's not 100% going to fall. It may or may not fall, but your intention is that it's going to fall. That's asur. Even though it's not sure it's going to happen, it's for sure asur. I'll give you a good example. Let's say you want to shoot birds on Shabbos, and you're not such a great sniper. You didn't go to Golani, to the army, So once every 4 birds, you're going to kill a bird, Of course it's asur. May or may not happen, but your intention is going to happen. Of course, that's asur, right? The whole psik reisha is on, or not psik reisha is only okay if your intention is good. I'm not intending to do anything bad. Plus, it may not happen. Then it's fine according to Reb Shimon, But here we have a case of I want to be mitzaref lechatchila. That's my makavana. That's my goal. How can Shmuel say that that's okay, right? That's what I want. That's my goal here. Ela itmar hachi itmar. If you want to learn Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, this is the way you should learn it. Omar Rav, lo yishanu ela shiur lehafshir, aval shiur letzaref osur. Let's see Rashi inside, so you see what I told you was right. Ela shiur lehafshir, second to last Rashi. Velo letzaref kigon shalom ya'alahu kuloi. You see? In other words, it's about shiur. What does shiur mean? Measurement, size, not shiur. In other words, if the amount of water you put inside is halfway or even 80-90%, you didn't fill it up to the top, that is a kind of shiur which is okay, right? It's a shiur which is okay because you know that nothing's going to happen. As I told you, Rav follows the first reading of the Mishnah. You empty the pot. The pot therefore is susceptible to tziruf. And Rav is telling you, we're talking about shiur letzaref. If you have shiur letzaref, if you put in enough water without any bad intention, your intention was to fill it up to the top because that's what you need. You need that amount of lukewarm water. You had no bad intention, says Rav, that's also. You're not allowed to do that, even though your intention was not bad. You're not allowed because Dovel Shen Niskaven also like Rav Yehuda. Shmuel Omar afilu shiur letzaref mutar. And Shmuel says no. Even if you, in other words, for sure you don't have any intention of letzaref. That's basically the answer. Of course, both Rav and Shmuel, nobody would allow you to lechatchila have in mind, I'm going now to give the finishing boom touch, the sparkling thing to the kli. No way. Elamai, Rav says, listen, if you are putting a lot of water in one go, it's a shiur that may possibly be mitzaref, right? Even though it's not your intention, you're good yid, and you have no bad intentions, but that shiur can possibly, likely be mitzaref it. Bad news. That's Dovel Shen Niskaven also, because I follow Rav Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda. That's also Dovel Shen Niskaven. That's Rav. Shmuel Amar afilu shiur letzaref mutar. Shmuel says no problem. Shmuel says if your intention is real good, you have to be honest with yourself, And if you have a big pot of big hot empty pot, right? Very, very hot and very empty. Now you want to put in cold water. You want to fill it all the way to the top, right? And your intention is you have all the married children for Shabbos, and you have all your wife's family and your family and all the neighbors. You need a lot of hot water that are lukewarm. That's all you need. Maybe it's going to be mitzaref. Shmuel says, I don't care. Why? The Shmuel follows Reb Shimon, Dovel Shen Niskaven is mutar. Simple. Bekitza Machlokes Rav Shmuel is Machlokes Rav Yehuda and Rav Shimon. In simple words, yeah. What? Mevashel is not a problem. Why? Because when you have it's good, let's chazer. Why is no problem with Mevashel? Because it is Mishak Kochot. Yesh po ma'avak koach, yedidi. The pot is very, very hot, right? But it's empty. But when you put all in one go, a lot of cold water into the hot pot, they win over and together it becomes lukewarm, koshel. And that's why it's okay. It's not going to be Mevashel. It's right at home. You come to my house too. לא, לא איתי. יש לך סיר חם מאוד, אבל המים, בטח, תשים מלא מלא מים קרים בבת אחת שרח לתוך הסיר החם, הריק, כן? אז הם יתגברו על זה, ואז ביחד זה יהיה פושר, זה לא יהיה הצולדת, זה בסדר. לא ראשונים, no, it's all in one go, I said, all in one go, I kept stressing it. All in one go, שרח, in one gush, in one go, in one stream. No, you don't give the pot a chance to heat the water. And if you do it slowly, of course it's awesome. Obviously, yeah, you're right, but that's not the case. Okay, so Bekitzer Machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon is now followed by Rav Shmuel. Okay, fair enough. Break the Gemara, no. The Gemara is not so happy about it. Oh, and we're going to see now a very, very nice Tosfos. I told you we're going to have Yesoidis today of Shabbos with Tosfos. Now it's coming. Soon we'll see Tosfos. I hope to have enough time to see Tosfos inside. I want to get Bezos Hashem to the 2 dots, okay? And then we'll see the Tosfos. Frag the Gemara now has a question on that. Now, by the way, we don't have to deal so much with the details of the pot anymore, so we're okay with that. All we have to know now is what? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Who says what? Rabbi Yehuda says Davar Shem Miskaben, also. Rabbi Shimon, Davar Shem Miskaben, Mutar. You remember, Rabbi Shimon is always Mekel in Shabbos. Rabbi Shimon in Hilchos Shabbos all the time, maybe once. No, he's always lenient. He's always Mekel. Rabbi Yehuda is always Machmir. So Rabbi Shimon says Davar Shem Miskaben, Mutar. Rabbi Yehuda says Davar Shem Miskaben, also. Very nice. Rav follows Rabbi Yehuda and Shmuel follows Rabbi Shimon. It's very easy. Shin. Shmuel, Rabbi Shimon. Life is good, right? Such an easy shir. So now, frag the Gemara, Lememre de Shmuel Rabbi Shimon Svirale. Is that what you're coming to tell me? That Shmuel is the chosid of Rabbi Shimon? That Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon? Is that so? Look, I'll prove you otherwise. The Omer Shmuel. Shmuel says, Shmuel is singing a different song in Masechet Zvachim. Says Shmuel, Mechabin gecheles shel mateches bershus harabim, bishvil shelo yizoiku ba rabim. Let's say you have a gecheles, you have a hot coal, but it's not exactly a coal. We wouldn't call it coal in modern English. Gecheles shel mateches is you have very, very hot, red hot piece of metal. It's like a coal, but for metal. You have a very, very hot, burning hot, red hot piece of, there's no flame, yeah, but the mateches, the piece of metal, is extremely hot and dangerous. And it's Shus Harabim. The Shus Harabim in Shabbos, bimba, children, it's dangerous. People may come to step on it and burn themselves. So what do? Mechabin, you're allowed to extinguish it. You're allowed to, let's say, however you extinguish it, you, whatever, put it in the sand, but do something to extinguish it. Bershus Harabim, because it's in a public place and it's dangerous. B'shvil shelo yizoiku ba rabim. So people shouldn't be damaged with that. Okay, very nice. Okay, fine. Masha'enken avaloi gecheles shel etz. Masha'enken, if you have a coal, what we call coal, meaning you have a burning piece of wood, right? That you're not allowed to put out even in Reshus Harabim. Wow. Says Rashi, why? Because the psolis of Barzel, the one made out of Barzel, b'deoraisa, there's no kibui. Masha'enken, when it comes to the what you call it, the one of the wood, it's an iser deoraisa b'chayv skila, and even if you have people walking around, you don't break an iser deoraisa for the rabbi. What do? Stand there, tell everyone, don't touch. I don't know, make a little fence around it. Police, yellow line, yeah, whatever. Oh, why is it? Why is it that the one of metal, the kibu is only the rabbanon, and the one of the wood is the oraisa? So Rashi says that, Rashi daf kufla medaled amud aleph. I want to read it to you inside. It's a very short and sweet Rashi. Rashi daf kufla medaled amud aleph says as follows, and he says, Gechel shaletz osu, the shayach bakibui. Real kibui applies to wood. What happens when you extinguish the fire from the wood? What's the result? A beautiful piece of coal. Whether you want it or no is a different story, but you have a new item here. Before it was fresh wood. It was from the tree wood. Now, after it's burnt, you have another creation called what? Coal. Yeah. And I was taught in Hilchas Shabbos, it's about creating something new. You created. So that kibui is creative. The gechele shel mateches is told is not really a coal. It's hot metal. The eino nasa pecham. Nothing really happens to it. In other words, if I have very hot, what you call it, piece of metal, I don't know, for plata or something. You have a piece of iron, yeah, that was cold. Now it's very, very hot, and that is called havara. Why? There's a chiddush Rambam mentions, as we see here in the Gemara, when it becomes red hot, that's defined as havara, not bishul, havara. In other words, it's called a creating fire. It's called a created fire if you made the iron red hot because you can cook other things with it or whatever. It's considered as fire. Once it's off, it's back to square one. In other words, when let's say, however, I was mechabe, what do I have now? I don't have anything new. I didn't create anything. I have what? Cold piece of metal, as it was before. And therefore, that's not even called kibui. With the Rabbanan, it's not allowed. There's a gzera. And with the Oraisa, and therefore what? Since the gechele shel etz is something creative, right? I created a coal. I'm not talking about purpose. That's going to come soon. But physically, if I'm a fly on the wall and I don't know about purposes, there's a whole new thing here, right? There was wood, then there was fire, and now there's a beautiful barbecue, right? Thing, yeah, coal. That's called creating. And therefore, it's the Oraisa. The Oraisa, with all the respect to safety and being careful from safety hazard, Mishmartem, you don't break Shabbos for that. What do? Tell people to stay away. Yeah, I don't know. Make sure that people don't pass there. Something, maybe move it away if you can. But it's burning. I don't know. Masha'en can the one of the mateches because it's only the rabbanon because nothing was created. It's just a piece of metal. There, because of tzarech harabim, rabbanon are the ones who forbade it. They are the ones for the need of the rabbim of the safety. They allowed it. All very nice. So far, this is Shmuel. So you see what does Shmuel believe? Shmuel believes that that the coal that was created over here, right? We see that if I have a piece of wood and I extinguished it, that's an Isodoraisa, right? What's my purpose? When I blew off the fire, when I extinguished the fire from the thing, every person who's extinguishing the wood, any person who does that is really happy. I have a coal. I'm a barbecue guy. I'm an ala esh guy. No, in most cases, you just want to get rid of the fire. Tell me, guys, from previous information, when I'm trying to get rid of a problem and I'm not happy with the result, how is that called? Melocha shetzricha legufa. No, it's a cousin. Melocha shetzricha legufa. Melocha shetzricha legufa. We discussed it once. I'll discuss it again as much as we can. Melocha shetzricha legufa is not davar shen miskaven. I'll tell you the difference. Davar shen miskaven means, as I stressed before, as Rambam says in Perek Rishon Halacha Hey Vov, the Rambam says, no, I'm doing a malacha which is allowed completely. In the picture book, in the title, I am combing my hair. That's allowed in kosher. Maybe a malacha will come inadvertently into the story because maybe some hair will fall, right? That's davar shen miskaven. Melocha shetzricha legufa means I'm a bad boy. I'm definitely extinguishing, and I know I'm extinguishing, and extinguishing is bad. It's usher. But my goal of extinguishing is not the same as the Mishkan, or not constructive enough in the place where the malacha was done, which means, according to Rashi, if I have coal, I have fire, my purpose is to extinguish the fire, get rid of the fire. That's all I want. I'm not interested at all in the result. It's in the result. Davar shen miskaven is in action. Melocha shetzricha is the result. The result, I have coal here. I don't need the coal. I'm going to throw it in the garbage. I'm not doing alay shen yom atzmaut. I don't need the coal. Yeah, I don't need it. Right, and therefore that's called melocha shetzricha legufa. As a classical example, daf tzad gimel, you have chas v'shalom chalila, a dead body in the house. You take it out of shus harabim so it doesn't metame your house. I'm not interested in it being in shus harabim. I'm interested in solving a problem that it shouldn't be in the house, getting rid of it. If you take out the garbage on Shabbos, it's melocha shetzricha legufa. Okay, now Rabbi Shimon says melocha shetzricha legufa is patur. In most cases of kibui is melocha shetzricha legufa, unless you're a coal maker, says Rashi, says oisem pechomin, or you want to have a wick that is dafka halfway scorched, then it's tzricha legufa. Most kibbutz is ain't tzricha legufa because you're not happy with the result. You're not interested in yes having an extinguished fire. You're not happy with yes having a coal. You want to get rid of the fire, and halabai the whole thing would never start. Never have started. That's definitions of an tzricha legufa. Rabbi Shimon says in such a case you are potul, and Rabbi Yehuda says you're chayiv. Again, Rabbi Yehuda is stricter than Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda, though, it's all one level worse than Dovo Shem Miskaven. Rabbi Yehuda says it's chayiv deoraisa, not the Rabbanon, and Rabbi Shimon says it's osir mid'Rabbanon. Or Dovo Shem Miskaven is one level more meiko. But so now asks the Gemara. You see that Shmuel was very kivyochol extreme. He says you have this burning coal in Roshut Rabim of wood, you're not allowed to extinguish it, and you have to work around it. And the babies may, the kid may burn, I don't know, move away the kids, do something. Why? You see, it's Daraisa. If he said that's Daraisa, frek the Gemara, if you think that Shmuel is a Reb Shimon follower and believes Reb Shimon, afilu shel eitz nami, even if the coal is made out of wood, I know that you created a piece of coal here, but you didn't want that result. You're not interested in that, and therefore it's malacha shetzich lagufa. So you see that Shmuel all of a sudden follows who? He follows Rabbi Yehuda. Toysis asks the question, why did we connect it to Machlokesim? And I don't know if I have time today or tomorrow to say, I'm not going to give up on this Toysis. It's too delicious. But Toysis, if you notice, the Gemara is basically asking Shmuel to be a true blue loyal to Rabbi Shimon always, or to Rabbi Yehuda. Says Toysis, what's your problem? Just because Shmuel followed Rabbi Shimon in one way, who says he has to follow in the other Machlokes, two separate Machlokesim? We're going to see that tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem. But Lamaisa, the question is, Rabbi Shmuel, who are you with? Right? You follow Rabbi Shimon? When it comes to Malacha Shetzich L'Guf, you don't follow him. Answers the Gemara, the obvious. Answers the Gemara, that's exactly the answer. The Dovo Shen Miskaven Savalok Rabbi Shimon. When it comes to Dovo Shen Miskaven, he believes Rabbi Shimon. He follows Rabbi Shimon, that what? Dovo Shen Miskaven according to Rabbi Shimon, mutar. You're allowed to lechatchila. And therefore, when you fill in your empty pot, new pot, with cold water all over, all the way to the top, as long as your kavan is okay, no problem. Dovo Shem Miskaven mutar, Dovo Shem Miskaven, I follow Rabbi Shimon. The Malocha Shetzich L'Gufa, Savalok Rabbi Yehuda. Comes to Malocha Shetzich L'Gufa, which by the way, Malocha Shetzich L'Gufa is worse. Malocha Shetzich L'Gufa, I know I'm doing Malocha, which is also on Shabbos, and I know it's Shabbos, and I'm through. And it's all Osir, but my purpose is different. My purpose is different to the Mishkan, different to the normal. Then Rabbi Yehuda says Chayev, and there Shmuel followed Rabbi Yehuda. He's voting this way here and voting this way over there. Yeah? Okay, so Shmuel is okay. And we're going to see this tomorrow. Omar Ravina, Omar Ravina, Hilkach, therefore, now that we spoke about safety hazards, we're going to see one more application of that. Koitz v'Rshus Harabim. Let's say you have a thorn. You have some thorns in Rshus Harabim, and kids can walk all over, and old people, and people won't notice, and they're going to get, stung by the thorn, yeah? You're allowed to remove, now the koitz itself, you can't kick it daladamis away in one go, because you're not allowed to move anything in Rshus Harabim daladamis. What can you do? Only in Issa Darabonon, Midarabonon, you are not allowed to move any object less than daladamis. Let's say I want to move the object 3.9 amis, and then another 3.9. I didn't cover in one go, in one shot, 4 ames. Midoraisa, that's okay. Midorabonon, it's not okay. Here, Rabbanon gave up on their own Isser for the safety of the public. Same idea with the Gachelas. That's a comparison. Nothing to do now with the, But Kamelis afilu tuva. Let's say this is a Kamelis, in the garden, in the forest, in the beach, whatever. There's a koitz over there. There are kids running around. There, you can make it fly even further, even more than Daladamis, because the whole Isser of moving something in the Carmelis is with the Rabbanon to begin with. The whole concept of the Carmelis is the Rabbanon. It's the Rabbanon invention, Carmelis. It's not Yachid, not Rabbim. And therefore, since Rabbanon, the ones who did not allow you to move the stuff in Carmelis, when it comes to Sakona of the Tzibur, they allow you to move it as far as you want. Okay, but tomorrow we'll see the Tosfos as well, I hope. And I hope to get to the next Mishnah by tomorrow. I hope we do the whole Amud. Okay, shkoyach. So we get the Yisoidis. Shkoyach, thank you very much. Atzlocha bracha. Bima.